channel, where today I want to talk about dangerous piercings you should probably never get. Before I get into it, I'm just going to say I'm not a piercer. I have a lot of piercings and I really like the piercing process. I like talking to piercers, I like watching lots of videos on piercings. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt because I may not be correct on some things. I'm going to talk about 4 main topics today. We're going to start with the first one, which is snake eye piercings. So snake eye piercings go through the bottom of your tongue, they go lengthways across your tongue. I'll put up a picture because I feel like I'm not going to explain it very well. And the reason why these are so dangerous is because your tongue is 2 muscles. You have 2 separate muscles that are in your tongue and it holds the muscles together, meaning that you can't move your tongue in the way it's meant to be moved. This can obviously lead to speech impediments that you didn't have beforehand. Obviously this could also impact current speech impediments. It could make them worse or harder to manage. It's also just very uncomfortable for your body to be pushed together in a way it's not meant to, because your body will fight against it. It will not want to be held together because they're not meant to be held together. If they were meant to be held together, they'd have something natural to hold them together. So it's much more likely to reject, and I do not want to know what it's like to have a rejection on your tongue because that sounds incredibly painful. Use your tongue for a lot. Use it to talk, use it to eat, to do other things. If you're someone who talks with your mouth, you will know how much you move your tongue. And if you eat with your mouth, you'll know that your tongue also moves a lot when you eat. So all around, it's just a terrible idea to have this in your mouth. Another thing about these piercings is an issue that I have with all mouth piercings, all piercings that are inside the mouth, and that is teeth and gum damage. Teeth can be replaced, but they are incredibly expensive to do so, and they will never go back to how they were before. You'll have to keep on getting them done, keep on having to get them replaced for the rest of your life if you damage your teeth. With gum damage, it's even more complicated. I'll put a link down in the description about gum damage and what people can do to get it fixed, but it is a very difficult process. Obviously it's very painful, it's inside your mouth. Your mouth is very important just in general for general day life. So you do not want to damage your gums and your teeth in any way. You really do want to avoid it. If you still want to get mouth piercings, oral piercings, ones that go inside your mouth, you can get them, but you have to be very careful and make sure you notice the signs of these things happening. On the website that I'll put in the description, it says the earliest signs are usually tooth sensitivity. Obviously tooth sensitivity can come from anywhere, but if you have a piercing that's, say here, this went inside my mouth, and the tooth behind it was very sensitive, that is a very good sign that you're damaging your teeth or your gums, and you should take out that piercing, go see a doctor, maybe even just go see a piercer. They might be able to tell you what to do about it. In general, I'll say never get a snake eye piercing. They're very dangerous. You don't want to be holding muscle together, but if you want to get oral piercings in any sort of way, just please be aware of all the things that can happen with it. As long as you're aware of these things, I think it's absolutely fine, but just keep note of all these things when taking care of your piercings, checking your piercings, all that sort of stuff. The next one is Achilles heel piercings. I do not see these very commonly, but I have seen quite a few people get them on TikTok. And when I initially saw these piercings, I was very worried because I was always taught that all your nerves are in the bottom of your Achilles heel, and that is why it was so sensitive for Achilles to be touched there, because that's where all your leg nerves are. And I found this article on a website that I don't really agree with the language that they use on it, but it has a good reference to a person who's actually talking about his own experience with this piercing. And he says he has a lot of complications because of the piercings. He said it was better on a smaller size bar, but either way, I don't think they're very safe because they can cause permanent damage, and piercings don't seem worth permanent damage. Like, beauty is pain and all that, but I don't think permanent damage comes into that in any sort of way. So even if you're like me and you think this piercing looks quite cool, because honestly I think it looks really good, I would recommend not getting it or going to a piercer who definitely knows what they are doing, because obviously if it's going to cause you permanent damage, you want to go to a right professional for it. My same sort of opinions with getting eyeballs tattooed. That's also incredibly dangerous, but if you really want to get it done and that's something you always wanted to get done, always go to the right person. You can't just walk into a random piercing shop and get your Achilles heel pierced. It's a terrible idea. Do not do it. If you want to do it and it's something you really want to do, think about it a lot and then find a piercer who's actually done it before and can show you testimonials from the people who've got it to make sure that they haven't had any sort of complications with it. The next one I'm going to talk about is eyelid piercings. So your eyes are very sensitive things. They can be damaged so quickly, so easily, and the repercussions are very strong. I personally don't really think these are a real piercing. I see them on TikTok, but I can't really tell if they're fake or not because you don't actually see the needle going through or the piercing being spun or anything like that. So they may not be a proper piercing that piercers are willing to do. I can't see any piercer willing to pierce your eye, because that seems just so dangerous. If the needle slips, you could stab yourself in the eye, and you really do not want that. Because with eyes, there does come a point where you can't come back from it. You can get operations, you can get your cartilage replaced, very expensive operations obviously, so I would just not recommend doing it. I'd also want to say that sight is very much a privilege. lots of people do not have their sight, or they have impaired sight, like they wear glasses all the time and things like that. So I don't think you should do something that's going to be such a higher risk to that privilege of seeing. You do not want to start losing your sight, and you do not want to be the cause of that. Obviously, if you start losing your sight for other reasons, that's not because of you. You didn't do anything wrong in that scenario. But if you directly caused it by getting a piercing in your eye, I do think that it's a terrible idea to do, and you should just not do that. Very much avoid it. Although I will say, on another note, if you already have a fake eye, you could always get your eyelid pierced, because why not? They look quite cool. They're very interesting. They get people's attention quite a lot, but only do it if you haven't got an eye already. The last thing isn't a particular piercing, but it's just a piercing implement in general, and that is piercing guns or piercing staples. What these machines do is they force a blunt object through your skin. Unlike a needle, which makes space for the piercing, these just shove it through, which causes so much more damage than a needle ever could. I can personally speak to this. I have my first lobes done. I don't have any piercings in them right now. They can get piercings in them, but there's nothing in them. I had these done twice with a gun, because I had them done with a gun when I was a child. I let them heal up because I didn't want them anymore, and then I got them re-pierced with another gun. And because of that, I have so much scar tissue in my ear, I cannot stretch them. And I've always wanted to stretch my ears, but it's not possible. If I wanted to stretch my ears, I'd have to get a piece cut out of my ear, which doesn't sound fun, and I do not want to do that. But obviously this is a very low end of the damage that a gun can do. If you have them done in cartilage, they can completely shatter your cartilage. If you feel like the top of your ear, it's kind of hard, kind of solid, that is cartilage, and a gun can shatter it completely, which sounds incredibly painful. It cannot be fixed, and it will just never heal. I will also say, getting pierced with guns is more painful. I know for a fact, because I have friends who think this, that getting pierced with a gun is less painful than with a needle. It is not. These piercings were more painful than my conch piercing, and my conch piercing goes through a very thick piece of cartilage. Got it done with a needle, obviously. This was less painful and less of a bitch to heal than these, and these should not be that hard to heal. They are earlobes, they're very rubbery, they kind of bounce back very quickly. They should be fine to heal, but this one was easier to heal, so I feel like that really shows why you should use needles and never guns. I think that's it for this video. There's probably more I could talk about, but these are the ones I kind of thought off at the top of my head. I didn't want to do piercings I hadn't heard of, I hadn't seen people with, but if you do know other piercings that you know for a fact are dangerous, please leave them down in the comments below, just to give people a little bit more knowledge when going to get piercings done, because obviously you can get all these done if you want to. I'm not stopping you from getting these done, obviously. I'm not your father, you can do what you want, but I just want people to know the risk, and I feel like bad piercers won't tell you the risk, they will just do it anyway, and then you all suffer the consequences for that, and that makes me really sad. I don't want people to get hurt, I don't want people to have to spend tons of money on this sort of thing, so that's why I was making this video, obviously. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like down below, comment what else you'd like me to do, and subscribe, as I'm posting 3 videos a week for the whole of summer, and I'd love to see you again. But until then, bye!